That's good. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to ask you is if you just had any particular things you were looking into with the upcoming session, anything that was on your mind.
Well, you know, in Moss Point, we got several projects that we are trying to start and, of course, complete. And we have several projects in the portal, and you know, we're trying to revitalize downtown Moss Point. Many years ago, when the state came in and widened Highway 613, many of our businesses, you know, went out of business. The building was torn down. So we have green space here that has been vacant for over 30 years. And we're now trying to revitalize that because we sit right on our main waterfront. It's a beautiful waterfront piece of property.
Yeah.
And we're trying to revitalize that, bring these businesses back, and we're coming with a different concept. Will be a mixed use, you know, where you got living upstairs, office space upstairs, and retail downstairs. So that's one of the main projects we trying to get funded. We've got some funding. The legislators have been very supportive of Moss Point, and so we've got funding to start that process. You know, we tore down a recreation center that was there, and the engineers now are laying out the property as to what these plots of land will be available for development. But we also have the I-10 corridor that we're trying to get infrastructure there. You know, for the last, 6, 7 years, we've been getting funding to do the infrastructure on I-10, on the north side and the south side. We're going to start on the south side first, which is putting a service road that will connect the service road in front of Cracker Barrel on I-10 to 613. And that'll give us good access there so that the people in Cracker Barrel area could get off the highway without a lot of problem. So we're getting funding to do that. Those are the main things. And then we tore down our recreation center, so we're going to be getting act for funding to help us rebuild our recreation center. That is a project that we really want to get doing for our kids because now we don't have a recreation center. We got one of our rec centers called Sue Ellen Street Rec Center is much smaller than what we had. So we want to rebuild something now for the whole community. And this new project, what we're calling the sports complex, will be now available for senior citizens or people of all ages. And so we're going to be doing that, actually, that funding. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to do in the city. There's a lot of flooding and drainage problems that we got. And we're constantly trying to find funding to help take care of those issues. And so we'll see how it goes. You know, we know we're not going to be able to get everything we want, but, you know, you got to start. And like I said, we appreciate what the legislators have already done. Since I've been here, these 4 years, almost 4 years I've been here, you know, they've been very supportive. So I anticipate that continuing.
Okay. And when you say drainage problems, can you go into more detail about, you know, maybe the storm drainage?
Yeah, well, Moss Point have had a history of flooding. You know, I mean, many of our cities flood, but Moss Point really floods a lot. And you know, it doesn't take much for our streets to flood and get into people's homes. But we've got a bad infrastructure. A lot of it's about the infrastructure that just wasn't designed to handle this water that we get sometimes. And over the years, you know, it just hasn't gotten any better, and we haven't done anything to correct the problem. So over years, it just gets worse and worse. So it's a combination of not having the infrastructure there properly, but it's also part of just maintaining the ditches, you know, keeping them clean and making sure you got the right side covered and those kind of things. So we asked for funding to go in there and correct those kinds of problems. Now, we did get money from IDA and Zeta back when they had that term. You know, we got $14 million from that. And we just got that, a couple years ago down there. We're going through the process of doing some emergency stuff as we designed for the major work to be done. So there's a study that we're doing right now, a watershed study that will determine what the real damages are and where we should start first. But we're going to be doing some temporary things to try to help correct that until we start the main problem. So that would be a big effort to help us, you know, correct some of that drainage problem. And we've had some smaller grants that we've got to do some of the smaller streets that we are doing some drainage problem corrections now. But it's just a holistic approach that we're trying to take, mainly economic development. And that's what I-10 and the 63 quarters about, and downtown Moss Point redevelopment. It's about trying to get some economic development into Moss Point that would help our tax structure, because we just don't have the funding to do the things that we really need to do to run the city. And because we don't have a real tax structure that we need revenue coming into the city. Because we lost a lot of industry over the years, you know, paper, international paper, you know, Thicol, you know, Halter Marine, small boat yards, you know, we lost that over the last 30, 40 years. And we have not replaced it with anything. So when you lose that kind of revenue, you know, then you don't have the money you need to really provide the services, the quality services. We're providing services, but it could be so much better. So with economic development coming into the mix, you know, we'll have more funding to really provide quality services for our people. So that's what that's all about now, is trying to get economic development coming into town so we can provide quality services.
Okay. And how much, like, what is the primary economic driver for the city of Moss Point? Where do you guys get most of your
Restaurants, service, gas stations, you know, those kind of things are the major thing we have right now on I-10, restaurants and service station. But we got hotels, you know, we got to be more diverse with that. We got to get more retail stores like other cities have, you know, clothing, you know, drugstores. We got one drugstore downtown, one downtown on Main Street, and we got two drugstores in town. But you know, we just got to have a variety of retail stuff, because our people now having to travel to Mobile or Biloxi, Diabloville to do their major shopping. So we're losing that revenue. You know, so we can get gas here. We got a few restaurants here. We got some hotels here. But for major shopping, for Christmas, we don't have it. Our people got to go somewhere else to do that shopping. So we need to bring things here in Moss Point that our people don't have to travel so far to get. We need to improve our inventory for restaurants. We need to improve our inventory for hotels, for people to come to town. We need to improve our inventory for a lot of retail type of businesses. And we have the property. In many cases on the interstate, we don't have the infrastructure. So once you get the infrastructure, then you can start promoting that for retail to come. Downtown, we have the infrastructure, but we didn't have the layout like it should be. So now we're getting that done. And once we get that done, we can promote that to developers. So you have to prepare to be to ask people to come. Because if you don't have the infrastructure, obviously business is not going to come, because you got to have the infrastructure. So I tell our board, you have to spend money up front to make money. You know, if you don't have this infrastructure, and you're not going to make any money, because nobody's going to come. So it takes time to do what we're doing, but we got to do it in order to get the business developers to come.
Okay. And you guys don't have any grocery stores or?
No grocery store, except we do have Piggly Wiggly, which is in North Moss Point, up on Main Street, and they've been with us for years, and we're thinking they're getting ready to expand, because we are growing population. People are coming back to Moss Point, and Piggly Wiggly has been our mainstay. We had Winn-Dixie that was here years ago. They've been gone for 25 years, but they were down in the plaza, but they left. And again, we didn't do anything to replace them, but Piggly Wiggly was always there. But for the central part of the city, we don't have a grocery store. But Piggly Wiggly is our main store, and they've been very effective and supportive of our city, and we want them to stay there, and to a point that they are getting ready to expand, and we're encouraging them to expand. Matter of fact, we encourage them to put another store, because we think we can afford a second grocery store. But they're one of our mainstays, and yeah, we do have that one grocery store, which is Piggly Wiggly.
And do you guys benefit from the grocery tax?
From the
Piggly Wiggly?
Yes, oh yeah. They are within the city, so you know, any sales tax that comes out of that, we benefit from that, you know.
Okay. And are you aware of the discussions in the Capitol about changing the grocery tax?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah, I know we'll lose that if that happens. But you know, that's all a part of it. You know, you get some, you win some, you lose some. You know, so I'm aware of that we'll possibly losing that. But we still need a grocery store in town, you know, because our people need a place to shop. They don't have to travel so far. So yeah, that'll be a disadvantage for us, but that's all. They're helping us another way. You know, you lose here, but you gain somewhere else. So, you know, I understand that.
Okay. And going back to infrastructure, how are the roads in Moss Point?
The roads?
Yeah.
Well, we got pretty good roads in Moss Point. I mean, all of them, you got to maintain these roads. I mean, you know, obviously we haven't had the money to keep them all up like we should. And we're constantly working on those things. So, you know, we try to do, at least in every ward, we got 6 wards. We try to do a road in each ward every year to try to keep up. But when you get them done, you start to maintain them. So again, having the resources to maintain them has been part of the issue. You know, so again, when you get a good tax base, then you have the resources. You need to do all the things you need to do to maintain a good city. But roads are pretty good overall, but there's still a lot of work that need to be done in all these areas because we've gotten so far behind on most of these things.
Okay. So just in summary, ahead of the legislative session or maybe even future sessions, you just want to see more retail development in Moss Point to generate the tax base. That way you can use that.
Yeah, what we're trying to do here, Hugh, is, and I'll tell our legislators that my approach here is that at some point I don't want to have to go to the legislators for this kind of support. You know, we'll always probably be doing that, but I don't want it to be a must. That if they don't support us, then what? I want Moss Point to get to a point that he can take care of himself. And the way you do that is you get enough retail businesses in town, a good economic development program in town. You give developers a reason to want to come to your town, that you don't have to worry about whether or not the legislature help you or not. You know, there's always going to be funding up there that can help our cities. But Moss Point need to get to a point that it can stand on its own feet. And until you get good economic development coming in here, we're going to have the legislative support. And what I'm asking them to do is help us get on our feet. And once we get on our feet, then we can stay on our feet and do more for ourselves. But we just asking for a hand up now. Not a hand out, but a hand up. And if they would do that for us, we'll get to a point that we can do our own thing. But you got to give us a hand up.
Okay. And how about healthcare? Is healthcare in Moss Point?
Hotels?
Healthcare?
Hotels?
Like, does the average citizen of Moss Point have to travel a far distance to get healthcare?
Healthcare? Oh, yeah, no. I mean, we got Senior River Hospital here. And of course, I want some clinics right here in Moss Point because a lot of our senior citizens do not have transportation. And of course, if you have something that's closer to them, you know, then they would probably frequent it more often. You know, this, like everything else, you know, sometimes people wait to the last minute to go to the doctor because it's not as accessible. You know, so if I want to be more proactive. I want to be preventive. You know, you want to prevent problems rather than to wait to the last minute. So, you know, we have Singing River Hospital, but we would like to have a clinic here at Moss Point. Now, we have a healthcare system here, what is it called? Gulf Coast Community Health. They're here, but they only do certain kinds of things. But, you know, we need a healthcare clinic here in town that people can go just not go to the emergency room. Because what happens now when they get sick, they go to the emergency room. Well, when I have a clinic here, so that was where they go. Rather than going to the emergency room, they go to this clinic. But yes, we have a healthcare system, and Singing River is good, but it's in Pascagoula. It's not in Moss Point. And yet, that's not too far away, but if you don't have transportation, it's far away. So the closer you get that to the people, then the more opportunity they will have to visit rather than wait to the last moment to go get care. Because when they wait to the last moment, they get more sicker and they go to the emergency room. And it costs more to go to the emergency room. So the whole idea is let's be more proactive and be more on the preventive side rather than waiting to the last minute for people to get sicker, and then you got to go to the emergency room.
Okay. And a hot topic, obviously, in the capital is going to be the healthcare expansion. Do you have any opinions on that?
Healthcare expansion? Medicare expansion?
Oh yeah, what am I saying? Medicaid, sorry.
Yeah, Medicare expansion, yeah, we are, well, the hospitals suffered because of lack of that. And our rural communities have suffered because of lack of that. A lot of hospitals or clinics that was in these rural communities have had to close. You know, Moss Point is not quite that bad. But we need it because of these other rural communities that don't have any kind of health services. That's what Medicare expansion will help. And if we're concerned about the people, then you want to provide health care for them in these rural areas. So, you know, Moss Point will survive that if we don't get it. It'll be difficult. But say expanding Medicaid will help everybody. Every city, that is. Again, to be more proactive for people to be healthier, because when you don't do that, people get sicker and it costs you more. But if you cover people with this Medicare expansion, you just help people be wealthy, healthier and not get so sick. And so we're pulling for that. We've been pulling for that for some time. But our leaders decided that that wasn't the thing they ought to have. And we hope that they change that. But I think it's just good for our state. Our state will be healthier. And, our people have access to care. And that's, I think, ought to be the goal, is that we provide health care for people and not allow people to get sick because of lack of that care. So we'll see how it works out with that.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard, and this might be speculation, but the infusion of federal dollars into our healthcare system might allow more clinics to be opened.
Yeah, it would. That money is going to other states. Other states, most other states are taking advantage of that. And they're getting the money that Mississippi would normally get. And why allow that to happen? I don't understand a lot of thinking sometimes that our leaders do, but they have their own reason for why they do what they do. I'm just thinking about it on a local practical level, that if you provide Medicare or Medicaid expansion for everybody, people will be healthier. And because some way or another, you paying one way or the other. If they go to the emergency room, you're paying because it costs more. But the worst of it is people are dying in some cases because of lack of care, particularly in these rural areas. When you got to drive 3 and 4 hours to get to a doctor, some people can't last that long. And at the same time, they wait until the last minute to go. So they're sicker making that long drive. Whereas if you had that right there in their local community, it would be so much better for everybody.
Okay. And I guess going back to civil services, do you believe that the police department is adequately funded?
No, our police nor fire department. But it's all about the city. The city have to provide their funding. And that's why we need economic development, because without that, all these things suffer. If you don't, because all a part of the general fund, that this tax money coming to the general fund that provide money for fire, police. And without that, there's only so much you can do. So we don't have the staffing that we need, okay? Anytime we don't have the equipment we need. And that's what it takes. You take staffing, you gotta have equipment. Then you provide training for people. And all that takes money. And if you don't have the money, then you have to live within a finite amount of money so you can offer finite type of services. You can have a small group of people working because that's all you can afford. Then you can't provide all the training that they have because you don't have the resources. So it's all tied to resources. And how do you get resources? Economic development. You got to get businesses in here that will help you bring in the resource you need to provide these services. That's what I was talking about when I say quality services. You can't provide quality services if you don't have the resources. So yes, it's about drainage, but it's also about public safety. And that's fire and police. We got two of them are very good departments for what they're doing, but it could be so much better if we had the resources. You could bring in the staff that you need, you have the equipment you need, everything else goes with that. So that's why I'm working so hard. My focus is economic development.
Okay.
And the reason being is to get the money we need to provide quality service for people. And that's why I'm fighting so hard to get I-10 infrastructure in and downtown development. Because that is our lifeline. That's our lifeline.
Okay. And one thing that I've heard from other mayors, in particular the Lucedale mayor, police officers will train within the city, and then they'll go to a different department that offers more pay. Is that an issue that you guys struggle with?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a show on everybody. I mean, I just wish that city's leadership could get together and come up with a pay scale for everybody, so they won't be jumping around like that. But it's natural. If a policeman go and get more training, he want to get paid for the training that he has. It's about the value of the person. The value of your worth, you want to get paid for what you think you're worth. So if you go get training, you're going to go where who's going to pay you the most money based on your training. Now, it's unfortunate because, for example, most want to train him. But if we cannot give him a raise because of that training, we've trained him, so we're going to go, so we've lost that. We pay for him to get trained, but if you can't afford to pay him based on that training, he's going to go where he can. Now, that other city benefits from that because they didn't have to pay for the training. They paid on the back end for him to come to work for them. So that's why I'm saying I would hope the cities would come together to say, let's come up with a base pay for everybody. And all these cops, so they won't be jumping around from tree, because they play games, they play the cities against each other. They play the cities against each other. And we buying into that because we don't address it that way. So yeah, we train them, and then if we can't afford to pay them, they go somewhere else.
Okay.
It's unfortunate,
And another thing I was going to ask you, are there any industry in the surrounding county that kind of trickles down and benefits Moss Point?
We got, right here in Jackson County, we're very supportive of Chevron and Ingalls, Bollinger. I mean, they are very supportive of Moss Point. I mean, I cannot, even though they're not in Moss Point, I mean, almost anything we ask them to help us with, they do it. It's just that we don't get no tax structure from that. They help us in other ways, but we don't get no tax money from that. And that's why we got to get them to locate in Moss Point, because that's how we really benefit from them. But when we ask them to support us in other type of events up here, they do that very graciously, and we appreciate that. But we're not getting that tax money. And that's why Pascagoula and these cities where they're located do so well, because they, by law, are getting tax money out of there. And that tax money helps them to do the things they do in their cities to provide those quality services I'm talking about. But no doubt about it, those industries, Chevron, all of them, Ingalls, Bollinger, you name them, I can't think of the other one right now, but they all are very supportive of Moss Point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any change you would like to see within that industry, maybe supported by the state, that could benefit Moss Point?
Well, some time ago, that was 2 or 3 years ago, they tried to change the law with the funding the way Chevron does its tax structure. And the courts sided with Pascagoula, and so, I mean, that would be, the industry can decide, I guess the industry can decide on their own that they want to share those resources, but if they strictly just go by the law says they pay from where the jurisdiction is, but I don't know how much they can do on their own, but that would be something that I would suggest that they would just come with some type of policy on their own and say they're going to give other cities a circle. It wasn't just Moss Point, actually, that they were sending in the county, to every city in the county ought to benefit from those industries, not just one city based on where they're located. And the court ruled against that. So I'm saying, I don't know whether the industries could decide that we're gonna share it on our own, just, you know, Pascagoula, but you located there, still give them what they deserve because they're in that city. But whether those industries decide, we still gonna give these other cities. Again, if not the cities, the school districts. See, the school districts are the one that really benefit from it. So Moss Point School District, Goche School District, they don't benefit from that. It's where it's actually located. Okay. And that's why, again, every city is trying to get industry to come to their city because of that same reason. It just happened that Pascagoula, I mean, Ingalls and Chevron, the two biggest ones, and now Bollinger, because they was here, Ultramarine, they moved to Pascagoula. So those are the three major industries that are there. And so yeah, they have to make that call on their own because the government has already decided, the courts have already decided that no, you need to remain there in Pascagoula. So that school district benefits from all of that. You know.
Okay. And the school district here, do you think it could need a boost? Do you think that it's doing well?
It's getting better. You know, it has not been doing well. You know, and you know, the records out there, which our school district has not been doing well, but, you know, under the superintendent that we have, Dr. Hopper now, it's really turned around. You know, so we're talking about A and B school now. So, when in the past it was, C and D schools. So he's done a great job to improve that, and he's got it on an upward trajectory. And we just hope he could maintain that because he knows that we've had the conversation many times that it adversely affects my recruiting of developers. Because when developers come, you know, they bring families with them. And they want their kids in the best school district. And some of them don't come because they say the school district's not good. Or if they come, they move to some other school, Pascagoula or Ocean Spring, or they live somewhere else. I want them to live here in Moss Point. Because you benefit in so many ways when people live here in Moss Point. Especially when you're talking about, you know, high-level businesses that bring high-level intelligence to your community. When they don't live in your community, you lose that intellectual capital. That they're in our churches, they're in our schools, they're in our businesses, they're in our community, they're in our organization within the community. You get all that benefit from those people being in your community because of what they can offer, because of their intellectual capital. When you don't have that, some other city benefit from that. Not only the tax that they bring, they're paying taxes as an individual, but the intellectual capital that I care about. Because you can put them on different committees, they can be involved in making decisions, they come to our board meeting, they have good discussion. When they're not here, you lose that. Outside of the kids being in your school district, that moves up the level of intelligence at the school. So it's so beneficial all the way around when you don't have that. So I'm trying to give people reason to want to come to Moss Point and live, not just to develop and have a business here, but we want them to want to stay here so we can benefit from everything they bring. That's what my desire is.
And that comes back to requesting funding from the state to improve infrastructure and to enhance development.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. That's get if you help me develop downtown Moss Point and the interstate, you know, then we're going to draw those kinds of people here that would help the city overall. We got more tax base from businesses, but then you got people living here that's buying homes. You got that taxes that you're getting from them because that's going to grow. They're in our school district, which increased the level of that educational level. You know, it helps in so many ways. And at some point, we're going to get there, and the city will be better off once we get all these things in place. It just takes time, and I just hate that it's taken us so long to try to replace what we lost, because at one time, back in the early 90s, Moss Point had 25,000 people. In the 80s and 90s, Moss Point had 25,000 people here. Now we got 13,500. We had 6,000 kids in our school district. Now we got maybe 1,200. We had 2 junior high schools. Now we got 1. We had 4 or 5 elementary schools. Now we got 2. So we lost all of that. So that means people living in here. We lost all that population. So when you lose that population, what else? You lose a lot of other stuff that goes with that. And a lot of people left because when their industry left, they moved out of it well. And again, because we didn't replace it, people didn't come back. So they have no reason to come back. So I'm trying to give them a reason to come back, but you got to have development here to do it. And you got to have a good school district. And so we're working on that. You know, but all this stuff works hand in hand. So the legislators are helping me do that, but it just takes time to get it all done. But you can see what the goal is here. Is that if we can get our economic development going and business going, then everything else going to flow from that. That would all make the city better in the long run, in so many ways. You know.
Okay. And is the population on Moss Point still decreasing?
Is it what?
Is it still decreasing?
Yeah, oh yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, there's a thing out there on our Facebook page now that a couple came here from Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, and said they was a young couple that said got married and they was researching where they want to live, and they run up on Moss Point and they researched it. And the gentleman said he fell in love because of the big oak trees, the history of the oak trees and all that, and he came down and said he lived in Biloxi, I think, first, and then they came over here, and the realtor showed him a house in Moss Point, and they said, this is where we want to be. And they heard about what we were trying to do here. That's where we want to be. He said, matter of fact, my brother's getting ready to move down here, because I don't talk about it. And we got people in Louisiana that's moved over here. So we got people that's coming to town, and we're just getting started trying to do something here. So what do you think will happen when we really get this going? When you change the image, and I came in here saying we need to change the image of Moss Point. You know, we need to change the perception of Moss Point. You know, Moss Point had a bad image, had a bad perception of people. Well, in some people's mind, the perception is real. So we have to try to change that perception. But what they were saying wasn't always true. A lot of gangs and drugs, and some of that was true, but it wasn't as bad as they were saying. But when you come in here, you don't know nobody rebut that, and you say it for 4 or 5 years, then it become normal that Moss Point is just terrible. Well, we've come in here and changed that. We've changed the cleaned the place up. We've got public safety. We've got to start community policing, you know, knocking on doors so people will tell police when they see something. We got the state to help us saturate this area to get this drugs and stuff out of here. We did that. That's why people are coming, because they hear that. You don't hear about the gangs and the shooting over here like they were years ago, even though it was exaggerated. But you don't have that now, because we addressed those issues. We cleaned the place up. We have community, a yard of the month, that kind of thing, where we started encouraging people, let's clean up your yard. We're going to give you a yard of the month. My wife got with the order all the month, and they go around every month and pick the yard of the month. So what happened? This guy started cleaning up his yard, that guy started cleaning up their yard. Everybody want to know what I need to do to get a sign in my yard. Just little things. This is our front door. I said everywhere we come into Moss Point, north, south, east, or west, is our front door. So our front door needs to look inviting. When you look at somebody's house, that front door, they always want to attract your front door, because that kind of catches the eye. So when you come into Moss Point, I want it to look inviting. Let's clean it up. So we did that Sawmill Landing Point, Sawmill Point over there. It's a park. That's a natural park that was just grown up, all looked terrible. Well, we had money in different pots. We got that money consolidated. We dedicated that park on December the 7th. So when you come off that bridge, you see that park there. Now people can walk there. It's a natural park. You can walk, you can sit. We built a pier where you go out on the water. Nice parking area. Beautiful trees out there. When you come in here, that's what you see. Now, we've got a lot more work to do, but that's just an example of what you can do to just change the image of Moss Point. Make people have a reason to want to come. We gave those couples out of Atlanta reason to want to come to Moss Point, because they hear what we're trying to do. Okay, so when you give people reason to come, they'll come. And then they'll tell other people, like this gentleman say, my brother's coming down here. As a matter of fact, he got a business, so he's gonna be bringing his business down here. So look how that multiplies. So we just got to keep that going. But you change the image of it, and you let people know you're concerned about public safety. You're concerned about your school district. You know, we identify the problems, and we let people know what we're trying to do about the problem. You know, we're not get our heads in the sand like we don't have these problems. Yeah, we got all these problems. We got all these problems. I know we got these problems, but this is what we're doing about it. Yeah, we had a bad image, but this is what I'm gonna do about it. And it starts with me. That's why I said the image of this city starts with the mayor. How do I carry myself? How do I project myself? Because I represent the people. Everywhere I go, I represent Mars Point. So how do I conduct myself? We let people know what Mars Point's like. So I'm always conscious of that. And it spills down to everybody else. So I want the people to say, I'm glad they say you my mayor. Why? Because I'm conducting myself in a way that's responsible, you know, that people can accept, they can admire, and it just trickles down to everything else, okay?
Okay. And you guys are the river city. Do you have any environmental things that you would hope the legislator would look at?
Oh yeah, well, the only one was the paper mill was a big environmental issue, but they cleaned it up. You know, EPA came in here and made sure they cleaned up. Matter of fact, we're trying to market, and we are marketing that property now and got a couple of prospects for it. But other than that, it's just regular environmental kind of issues that the city have that we are concerned about. We are the river city. We're proud to be the river city in reason because that waterfront there that people to enjoy. We're trying to revitalize that to make that, to improve that, to be compatible with our downtown. You know, we ask for funding for that, and we hope we get more funding for that to redo that pier so that there'll be more lights out there and be more accessible to people, that they can use it for boats to be able to come up and dock and people get off it. We're going to make that change out there. Put a small stage out there. It's a small stage now, but we'll put a stage there for entertainment. So what I'm trying to do there is develop what I call an economic development profile for developers. If I can tell, I used to be in the clothing business. Christmas was my biggest time of the year. So I'm trying to develop about 5 Christmases a year in Moss Point. You got boat races, you got cruising the coast, we got river jamboree, we got Christmas parade, you got Mardi Gras parade. From 1,000 to 5,000 people are downtown for each one of those events. If I tell a developer that you're gonna have that kind of traffic 5 times a year, I would want to put my clothing store somewhere down here. Because if you got that kind of traffic, somebody gonna walk in my store. And then it's up to me to sell them something. That's the profile that I'm trying to develop. And right now we got that traffic. We got those activities every year. Cruising the coast, we had over 1,000 cars over here down here on October the 4th. And we had over 5,000 people or more in town all day looking at those cars. You know what the people out of the area call us? Man, you need somewhere for us to eat. We want to shop. We don't want to sit around these cars all day. We want the women in particular say, man, we need somewhere to eat. We need somewhere to shop. We don't want to just sit here all day. And they've been telling me that for 3 years now. And every year we have one more thing. We can say, okay, that place open over here, that was open over there. But if you got somewhere to shop for people when they come to do these other social events, they're going to shop. That's why we got to get retail businesses downtown. So when you have something on the waterfront, people got somewhere they can walk and shop, go to restaurants, those kind of things.
Okay.
That's the profile that I'm trying to develop for developers, what I call economic development profile.
And is this waterfront development, is that the same as the development that you requested state funding for?
Yeah, yeah. The state is already up to with that. It's the pier. This one that comes out of the Talon funds. Is what's on the water. You know, help with the waterfront, make sure the water. I mean, the bulkheads are in place for keep dirt from wash it off and all that, have that pure that people can enjoy the waterfront, and but at the same time protect the land. There's tiling money helping with that. Tiling money helps us with the park, because it's about natural in the water. The wetlands, making sure you take care of the wetlands and those kind of things. So we get tiling money to help us with that.
And do you have to apply? How does that work? The
Mhm.
application.
Hmm?
How does the application for those funds work?
Well, you come up with the program or the project that you're talking about, and you could put a price to what it is, and you upload it to a portal in an application process, and you put it in that portal that the state requires. And of course, I take it up there myself. In January, I'll be going up there 2 or 3 times to lobby for it. And you get in front of your legislators and explain what you're trying to do, and hope they agree to fund it. And that's every city's doing that. Yeah.
Well, is there any other concerns? Or actually, I'll ask you this. Is there anything you don't want to change about Mass Point? Anything in Mass Point you wish would not change?
No, you could sometimes, I guess I could say that, the people, we need to change some of the people. I could either say, well, we don't want to change the people because they're great, but they are great people. We got great people in Moss Point, but the people need to have a new mindset about what we're trying to do. And, it's all to a point that it's not their fault because they've been promised a lot of things in the past and it didn't happen. So now they get cynical or they don't believe nothing that you say. And so what I try to do is encourage people to pay attention to what we're doing. We try to keep them informed about what we're doing and not be so cynical about what we're doing and get involved and not be afraid of change. Because some people are scared of all this stuff I'm trying to do. Because they ain't never done it. They ain't seen it before. They used to, some people didn't want us to do anything out here. Because when they go out there and they park their car, they use all that for waterfront, and now you're talking about putting a building there, what are we going? We're not making no money off of that. But they wanted to stay that way, because it's changed. And that's what they've been used to for 30 years. So people have to change their mindset. So part of my job is fighting through all that. So, we need a lot of things we need to change. Because I'm not satisfied with none of this. I'm not satisfied because there's so much work need to be done, and the people need to be willing to support the leaders when we're trying to make these changes because it's going to be for the better. Nobody wants change, but change bring about more progress in most cases if it's thoughtfully done. I don't want change just for the sake of change, but it needs to be changed with some thought behind it and some real planning behind it. That's why it takes time, because you can't do these things overnight. And so we're saying all these things I'm telling you we're doing. People say, well, I don't ever see nothing done. I don't see nothing going on. You've been talking about this for 3 years now. Well, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. That's got to be done, like getting the funding. Then once you get the funding, you got to make sure it's in place before you start drawing it down. Some of it requires match money. You got to make sure you got the match money for it. Okay, then you got to get engineering involved to do that. People don't understand. They just think if I say I got $6 million, they ought to see something happening next week. That's a process of me educating our people about the process because they don't know about the process. It's not their fault. But it's my job as the leader to explain to them the process so they'll understand why it's taking so long. Okay, so our people we just gotta inform our people. We just don't know enough. And it's not their job to know, but it's our job to explain it. Okay, and that's where we are with this.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to discuss about Moss Point in preview of the upcoming session?
No, we like I said, we have had a lot of support from the legislators, and we're going to be up there this year. Active support. We don't just go up and act, but we always try to take an illustration of what we're talking about, so they can visually see what we're talking about. To make it easier for them, hopefully, to decide whether they're going to support us when they can see, what we're talking about doing with the money. And then it's also a way for them to hold me accountable. I don't mind being held accountable. So if you're gonna give me $3 million, sooner or later you're gonna be able to see what I did with that money. It ain't gonna be coming out here and saying, what do you do? I can't, no. When you give me the money, I'm telling you up front, this is what I'm gonna do. And in the end, you're gonna be able to come and compare to say, did he do what he said he was gonna do? And I'm saying in the end, you're gonna say yes. So when I go up there, I'm asking for money, but I want them to see what I say I'm gonna do with it. So in the end, they can, so it's about building trust. It's about building relationships. And that's what I'm doing, okay? And I'm trying to build a foundation here that will carry on even after I'm gone. And I'll leave this with you. What I'm saying here, what I'm trying to do here in Moss Point, talking about a foundation, the other way I put it, is that I'm building a tree that I'll never sit under. But your kids, my kids will sit under that tree. Because Billy and I planted that tree. I planted it, but I didn't see it grow up. But somebody else will see it grow up. So everything I'm doing here is planting a tree that somebody else will enjoy more so than I will. So it ain't about me. It's about me trying to make a difference here at Moss Point. And making a difference is leaving it better than I found it.
Okay. And have you been raised here?
Hmm?
Have you lived here your whole life?
No, I'm from Hattiesburg.
Okay.
And I came down here teaching school in Biloxi in 1963. Okay, so I left Biloxi and came over here in 64 to work for a gentleman that taught me science in high school. He became principal, and I came over here. So I've been in Moss Point or Jackson County since 1964. I moved to Moss Point in, I think it was 72 or something. I moved to Moss, bought a home in Moss Point. And I've been here, we built a home in 78, I believe it was. So we've been here since that time.
Wow.
So Moss Point is home for me. I've lived here longer than I lived in Hattiesburg. Because I left Hattiesburg in, 59 going to college. So I had family there, got family there now, but most of my people have passed on. But Moss Point has been home for me since 1964. So that's why I care about this place. And like I said, I want to leave it better than I found it. And so we have a lot of opportunities here to leave it better than I found it. Because to me, it's a blank slate. Ain't nothing here. So if I can leave something down here, people can say, I tell my wife, I don't want you to tell people what I did. I want you to show them what I did. So that's why I'm saying I draw the help the engineer to give me a rendering of what I'm talking about. So people can see. So when you finally see it out there on the ground, you can actually see what he did. You can see that tree that I planted. No, he talked about planting a tree, but he planted that tree. There it is. That's what this is about. Leaving it better than I found it, and you can see it. Not somebody telling you, but you can see it. That's why I'm at.
Okay. Well, do you happen to have a PDF of what you hope to propose to the legislators that I can look at?
Yeah, we got a rendering of it. I can get the engineer to. You want to send you a copy of that? Yeah, the latest one we got is. And all this is in the preliminary stages, but surrender with downtown as well as the waterfront property. Okay. It's all tied together. This last project I just sent to Lieutenant Governor is downtown, and I had them overlap the waterfront. That's the way it's going to look like. And we can, we'd be glad to send you that.
Okay. Well, I think that's it then. I think I've got everything I need.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I hope you got what you need, you.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Well, you got a lot to choose from there, so.
Yeah.
I'm sure you this thing probably, how many, well, I guess